Welcome back to Beyond the Scarlet Moon, where shadows take form and the unknown beckons. Here, we explore eerie realms and unravel tales that lie just beyond reality's edge. Tonight, we journey into a chilling vision of the afterlife, a place where angels forge chains to bind creation, and faith itself becomes a weapon in the fight to hold the universe together. Brace yourself as we dive into the dark truths lurking in the heavens. The last thing I remembered was the shriek of brakes and the blinding glare of headlights as they bore down on me. Then nothing. A moment later, or perhaps an eternity, a soft, hazy blue light bloomed around me. It was neither warm nor cold, but a kind of light that held an unsettling calm, like twilight suspended between night and day. I blinked, expecting to feel pain or panic, but instead felt a strange clarity, a distant sense of self, as though I'd been gently cut free from my body. Gradually, the details around me sharpened. I found myself standing in a vast, cavernous expanse, stretching so far that its edges were swallowed by the darkness. A low, metallic hum thrummed through the air. All around me were hundreds, perhaps thousands, of people hammering away at anvils, their hands moving with rhythmic precision as sparks flew from the metal they struck. Above them floated silent blue orbs, casting a spectral glow over the scene. A figure approached, blending into view as if he had always been there. He was a man in his early 30s, with a face etched by the familiar lines of human experience. His faded faux hawk and easy, knowing smile made him seem more like someone I'd meet in a coffee shop than a guide to the afterlife. "Welcome," he said, his voice steady yet carrying a weight that hinted at deeper knowledge. "I'm Daniel. You're in the second heaven." The words echoed strangely, as if bouncing off the walls of a place I couldn't see. "Second heaven?" I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. The concept felt foreign, like a line from an ancient text I'd once heard and forgotten. "This," he said, gesturing to the endless rows of hammering figures, "is where you'll begin your journey." He handed me a small iron ring, warm to the touch and glowing faintly, its intricate patterns spiraling toward the center. "Journey?" I asked, my fingers closing around the ring. Daniel's smile was patient, almost pitying. "Follow me." I fell and stepped beside him, the hum of countless hammers blending into a rhythm as we passed the rows of workers. Each person was wholly absorbed in their task, faces expressionless, eyes unfocused, as if their souls had been poured into the metal they were shaping. "They're forging chains," Daniel said, his voice solemn. "Chains strong enough to bind something dangerous." A chill prickled down my spine. "Dangerous? Like what?" He looked away, his face taking on a guarded expression. "You'll understand soon enough." Ahead of us loomed a figure radiating a bright, almost blinding light. His presence filled the air, a palpable weight pressing down on everything around him. He seemed both ancient and ageless, his aura one of serene authority. Daniel inclined his head respectfully. "This is Gabriel. He oversees this realm." Gabriel looked at me with an intensity that pierced through me, his gaze carrying a silent power. He extended his hand, and I offered the ring, feeling its warmth seep into my fingers as he inspected it. He nodded, the glow around him dimming as he met my gaze. "Your faith is strong. May it guide you through the tribulations." With that, he returned the ring, the light around him flaring back to its full radiance. I felt the weight of his words, the gravity of the task ahead sinking in, yet their meaning eluded me. Tribulations? My mind struggled to grasp it all as we moved toward a wooden door behind Gabriel. Daniel pushed it open, and beyond it was a narrow, spiraling staircase, chiseled into the stone as if carved by unseen hands. "This way," he said, motioning me forward. I clutched the ring, feeling its faint pulse as I stepped through the door, hearing it close softly behind us. The staircase was cool and dark, the echoes of our footsteps filling the silence. Shadows seemed to shift along the walls, forming shapes that dissolved just as quickly. After several steps in silence, Daniel spoke, his voice a low murmur. "You probably have questions." I glanced over my shoulder, eyeing the small blue orb that hovered nearby, almost like a watchful guardian. "Can we talk without it listening?" A hint of amusement flickered across his face. "Now that we're out of the second heaven, yes. There, information is limited. The cherubs, the orbs, monitor everything. But here we're freer to speak." We continued climbing in silence, our breaths echoing against the stone walls. I glanced over the railing, feeling a dizzying drop below us and a sense that this stairway spiraled deeper than I could fathom. "Daniel," I asked finally, "what are they really forging in the second heaven?" He hesitated, his gaze darkening. "Chains to bind the material, a force that's beyond understanding. Even those souls in the second heaven don't fully know what they're making. They're given only fragments of the truth. It's safer that way. If they knew the whole truth, they'd never lift their hammers." The word sent a chill through me. "And what's the whole truth?" He shook his head. "I'm not entirely sure myself. I'm only a guide." But he trailed off, glancing at the orb again, his face unreadable. We climbed in silence, the path steepening as we ascended. At last, the staircase opened up, and a sudden flood of light washed over us. My breath caught as I took in the scene. We'd emerged into an open sky, vast and endless, with platforms and pathways spiraling around a brilliant, glowing sphere suspended in the center. It radiated a blinding, all-encompassing light, so powerful it seemed to hum with life itself. Daniel raised his hand toward the orb. "This is the third heaven," he said, reverence thick in his voice. "This," he continued, nodding toward the radiant sphere, "is God." The word lingered in the air like an echo, filling the silence that followed. "Cool," I repeated, barely able to believe it. "The creator of everything." He nodded, his gaze fixed on the light. "But God isn't the ruler you might imagine. God is creation, and creation is not entirely stable." I turned, looking at the ring in my hand, feeling its weight and warmth. "The angels, they're not protecting us, are they?" Daniel's gaze shifted back to the glowing sphere. No, he said softly, a hint of sadness in his tone. After creating the universe, God tried to unmake it, and the universe has never fully recovered. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine as his words sank in. The creator of all existence had attempted to destroy it. The chains, the rings, the countless souls laboring in the second heaven. They were all part of an effort to keep the universe intact, to bind creation itself. That ring, Daniel said, gesturing toward the one I held, is forged from belief, a power drawn from those who choose not to make the chains. When someone refuses to help, they become part of the chains, willingly or not. My gaze drifted back toward the towering spires I had seen earlier, rising up like pillars holding everything together. The spires in the Silver City, they're made from those souls? He nodded slowly. The souls themselves are the only bond strong enough to hold creation. But even those bonds weaken with time and need to be renewed. That's what the tribulations are for. A sense of dread settled over me as I realized the magnitude of what I'd stumbled into, a cycle of creation, destruction, and rebuilding, each turn of the wheel bound by the faith of those who had come before. Then, without warning, a sharp pain stabbed through my chest. I gasped, doubling over as it spread, searing through my limbs like fire. Daniel's face twisted with alarm. "What's wrong?" "Pain," I managed to say, my voice fading as darkness crept in from the edges of my vision. The last thing I saw was his face, concern etched deep into his features. "Tell Mary." His voice sounded distant, slipping away as the darkness swallowed everything. I woke in a hospital bed, the dull ache of my injuries bringing me back to reality. A doctor's face appeared above me, explaining that I'd survived a head-on collision, my heart stopping for nearly 6 minutes before they revived me. When I turned my head, I saw my ex-wife, Mary, asleep in a chair beside me. We hadn't spoken in years, but she'd shown up, the last person I'd expected to see. A pang of something, regret, maybe, washed over me as I looked at her, wondering what Daniel would have wanted me to say. Later, lying alone in that hospital bed, my mind returned to the cavern, the angels, the spires, and the weight of the ring in my hand. A few days after, I looked up Daniel Marsh in Rochester, New York, my heart pounding. And there he was, his obituary photo staring back at me, faux hawk and all, confirming he'd been real. The memory of his final words echoed in my mind, hauntingly clear. Hell is just the absence of God. And if what I saw was true, if God truly seeks to unmake creation, perhaps in some way we all reside in hell already, clinging to faith to keep existence whole. And so we're left with a haunting question. If even the Maker can be bound, what hope do we have against the forces lurking beyond? Thank you for joining us tonight on Beyond the Scarlet Moon, where we delve into the mysteries and horrors that lie hidden in the shadows. If you're drawn to the eerie, the unsettling, and the spine-chilling, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories that will keep you questioning what lies beyond. Until next time, Stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, some truths are better left unspoken.